What's up, grinders? Welcome back to the channel. Now, most of you are probably aware at this point that I'm kind of like a language commentary channel. I like to talk about issues that exist within the language learning community, uncover frauds, critique shitty YouTube videos about language learning, and then also just talk about the languages that I'm interested in and present language learning tips and tricks that I find useful and basically, realistically, create a community of realism. Because the language learning community seems to be saturated with a lot of bullshit as of recently, and I like to just call out the bullshit and focus people on what is realistically possible when you're learning a language and kind of create a community of people who are trying to learn languages and are being realistic about it at the same time. However, if you've followed me for long enough, and i.e. long enough, more than 5 months, then you would know that I originally started out as a channel that was purely in a language called Esperanto. For about 10 plus years, maybe longer, I produced videos almost exclusively in the language Esperanto. I did tap a tiny bit here and there into English, but it was mainly in Esperanto. And it was just basically a vlogging channel or a channel about things that are happening in the Esperanto speaking community. But then I moved away from that. And why did I move away from that? Well, I got bored of doing that, okay? Just like anyone, there's only so much shit you can talk about a certain topic before you're like, I'm bored, time to move on. And that's what I did. Now I've expanded out into languages in general, and my channel has basically doubled in size in the last 4 months, which I guess is a happy result of doing that. Today I want to return to my roots, but this time I want to give my personal community, that is the Esperanto speaking community, a community that I absolutely love, a bit of a fucking slapdown, okay? Because there's some bullshit that I keep seeing and I have to keep correcting. Now, I'm going to make some parallels with the vegan community because I see this type of issue is the same type of issue that the vegan community suffers from. And let's just put this into perspective. 99% of vegans are completely normal, well-adjusted members of society, and you probably don't even realize that they're vegans until you get into a random conversation and somehow you notice that they're not eating meat, okay? And they're completely normal humans. And then you got the 1%. The 1% are those people that run around with no shirts on, fucking cow pictures painted on their face and throwing milk at strangers on the street. They are the fanatics driving people away from veganism. Now, I am not a vegan. If anything, I'm more of a carnivore, okay? And I know I'm going to get hate from that in the comments. I don't give a fuck, okay? I'm just making parallels. I've got some vegan mates, absolutely love them, and they fucking hate these vegan fanatics, okay? The Esperanto community suffers from the same shit. 99% of Esperanto speakers are completely normal, well-adjusted members of society. You know, they use Esperanto for whatever reason. It could be religious, it could be like they enjoy the language, it could be family, it could be whatever. And then you got that 1%. The 1% are those raging Esperanto fanatics that run around with an Esperanto flag on their back. I'm not talking the ones like me who run around because it's fucking ironic. I'm talking they legit think they are Esperanto Superman. That's what they do, okay? And they go out there and they run up to people and they're like, you must learn Esperanto, it is the world language. And people are just like, what the fuck? And then they get a really negative image of Esperanto. I know that these people exist, and I'm not making a caricature, because I constantly get comments on my YouTube channel from people who are like, hey, until I saw your videos, and I saw how you present Esperanto, I thought this was some crazy religious fanatical cult. And I'm like, I get that, man, I get it. We got some real dickheads in our community, and they make us look bad. So today, I'm going to do a little bit of a slapdown, because I just saw this post drop in the Esperanto Reddit. Now, I don't go to this Reddit very often because this is mainly a Reddit of Esperanto speakers who primarily use English. When I use Esperanto, I hang out with Esperanto speakers and I just use the language because for me, it is as easy to use as my native language. Like, I could use it in any context, it does not bother me at all. But this is kind of like where a bunch of English speakers will come in and they will like play around with Esperanto and maybe some of them will get good at it type of thing. Now, there is also some experienced Esperanto members in this community and they help the learners. But this is where you see some stupid shit, okay? Like this post right here. How can we make Esperanto go viral? Oh god, here we go, okay? This is the radical shit that turns people off of our community. Let's have a look at it, and it's posted under Activism, which means activism. Okay, if you're like most normal humans out there, no one likes activism, because activism nowadays is generally associated with those idiots who stand in the middle of the road, blocking the road, making everyone's life hell, or the people who throw paint on paintings, or the people who just make your life difficult in general, okay? And you don't even know why they're doing it, you don't care why they're doing it, you just hate them and whatever cause they're supporting at that moment. So let's have a look what it's got. Esperanto is the most successful constructed language ever. That's debatable. It could be Hebrew, but I guess we could say it's the most successful fully constructed language. with at least 2 million Esperanto speakers, but Esperanto is still far from achieving its goal of becoming the lingua franca of the world. Here we go, the goal, okay? This is usually something you'll hear from what we call in the Esperanto community fresh bakitoi, which means freshly baked people, okay? Because what will happen is you'll get this person who will hear about Esperanto, they'll hear about, you know, the universal language and the original ideals of the language, and they'll be like, oh my god, this is the greatest idea ever. And they'll come into the community, and they'll spend like 10 minutes, they'll notice that we're not some giant monolithic structure with the Esperanto Pope at the top, directing the masses in the world conversion, and then they'll get like upset about this, and then they'll write posts like this, okay? We are not some monolithic community. For anyone who doesn't know, the Esperanto community is completely fractured among completely different groups who speak it for like a variety of goddamn different reasons. Some of these groups hate each other, some of these groups like each other. Pretty much the only thing every Esperanto speaker agrees on is that we speak Esperanto. And even then we can't agree on that, okay? There is a lot of infighting, and then there's a lot of like disagreements about pretty much everything. So we're not a monolith. I just want to get this out there. This is unsatisfying, given Esperanto's potential. Okay, you can see where this is going. I think that Esperantists, and I hate this word, it shouldn't be Esperantists, Esperanto speakers. It makes us sound like we're part of some goddamn cult. I think that Esperanto speakers should have a common goal. Why? Why should we have a common goal? Why should I do what you want to do? I do not care about your goals. Okay? Which is to significantly increase the number of Esperanto speakers in a relatively short period of time. There is enough speakers. Why do we need to relatively increase the number of speakers? Why do I care about this? Why is this important? It's not like suddenly the language is going to disappear. We're not an endangered language. We have probably 500,000 to 1 million plus speakers. This is not something we need to worry about, okay? But it seems that most Esperantists don't seem to take this idea seriously. See, guys? See, most Esperanto speakers don't care about this, okay? We're just happy to use our language for whatever reason. Some use it because it was like an easy language to learn, some enjoy the culture, some have friends that speak it, some have traveled and this was just an effective way to travel, some because it's literally their family language. People learn it for many different reasons. Many use the language to connect with others, but don't actively work on expanding the community. Even when efforts are made, they usually rely on traditional, mostly ineffective strategies. I would say any effort to forcibly expand the language and like attract people to the language would probably be detrimental, okay? Because people can see through this shit. We are not in like the 1930s or whatever where you can put up advertisements and attract people and stuff. People have to see that there's actual value to them learning this or some interesting reason. You can't just put up posters like we're fucking marketing Coca-Cola and people are going to come and learn the language. No one cares about that. Now maybe a small group will. Maybe some people will see the poster and go, oh, that's interesting. But most people can see when it's some type of marketing ploy. And the problem with activism, as I said earlier nowadays, is that most people see it and they instantly get turned off of activism. They're not interested, okay? When I first heard about veganism, I heard about it from those activists you don't want to hear about, and it literally turned me off of veganism for many, many years until I met a completely normal vegan who I consider a friend now, and I have tested out with veganism a few times now just because this is a normal person and I like him, okay? But prior to this, I was the type of guy who was sharing the jokes about, eating a live cow because I thought you guys were freaking idiots. Nevertheless, I think the internet is our best opportunity, and with the right approach, Esperanto could explode in popularity. But why hasn't that already happened? And what would that strategy look like? What would it take to make Esperanto go viral? This is like saying, what would it take to make English go viral? We know what it took to make English go viral. I'm pretty sure most Esperanto speakers in today's day and age don't want to apply the same methodology. The methodology, i.e. being, join a massive fucking Esperanto-speaking military, take over the world, launch multiple colonies, and annihilate local cultures, okay? So we can't implement the English method, or the Portuguese, or the French, or the German, the Russian, the Arabic-speaking method. We can't implement these methods, and I know there's a lot more. I know the Japanese tried this method as well. We can't just go and implement the world domination method. It's not like the most effective way of doing this anymore. So let's look at this post as if I'm a consultant and I'm trying to advise you on how to promote Esperanto, which realistically I don't care about doing, but let's just pretend, okay? Let's have a look at the first comment. The answer is simple. By creating cool things, you never know when and how something goes viral. So let's just create cool and vivid culture with a lot of content and enjoy living in it. But please stop to do things just to do propaganda for Esperanto. 100 goddamn %. Okay? If you're doing propaganda, people can sense it. They can taste it. And people fucking hate propaganda. Just make cool shit, okay? Look at the Japanese. I know I just shat on the Japanese, but look at the Japanese and their anime. They did not make anime to promote Japanese, but people love anime and therefore they went and learned Japanese. Japanese soft culture is so goddamn powerful. It's way more powerful than, Japanese culture overall because it appeals to so many people outside of their culture. And now lots of little weebs from around the world have started learning this language just due to the fact that it's got some cool shit. Now, I know that Japan or anime has, Japan backing it up and Esperanto speakers don't have that. Therefore, we can't do that. But you could always make some cool shit in Esperanto and you can attract a few people here and there. But obviously, you're not going to have the same power as like friggin' the Japanese culture, okay? It's not going to happen, so why are we even pretending? How about advertising Esperanto or Esperanto adjacent projects and things using guerrilla marketing? Please, no, don't do guerrilla marketing in this shit. Do we really want to turn our language into a marketing campaign? Really? Do we really want to do that? Come join our language, like a friggin' Coca-Cola campaign? No thanks, please don't. Let's have a look at this one. In today's modern world, I believe the best way is to create more content. We always pat ourselves on the back about all the cool things done in Esperanto, but most of those are outdated. I wouldn't say that's... Well, look, you literally... Okay, he mentions Johnny M is a fantastic, but reggae isn't everyone's favorite genre. Johnny M is a reggae singer who does Esperanto music. Fucking amazing guy, okay? He's like really good as well. And I'm not saying this because he literally name dropped me in a song or anything, but he is a really good musician. I'm so proud of that moment that I made it into one of his songs. But I see what this person's saying. If you want to attract people, you just got to make content, and the content's got to be cool enough to attract people to the culture. There's literally no way around it. Let's look at the first comment. Salivanto. This kind of advice gets posted all the time. What I'd like to see is the person who posts such a thing actually spelling out clearly how to make that happen. I mean, do you honestly think that there is a person out there with the time and talent to do what you suggest, but is sitting at home waiting for you to make the suggestion? I can see where Salivanto's coming from this. We don't have funding in the Esperanto community like, friggin' all these other communities and stuff. However, this comment is still correct. Two things can be correct at the same time. We don't have funding, but at the same time, that is literally the only way to attract people to the language. And like a good way of doing it without like doing it in this like really freaking shitty way of forcing people into it type of thing. And in fact, I will give an example of how I think you should do it. So yeah, creating content in the language is a good way. Another good way is just to use the goddamn language and then every now and then share your experiences like I do on this channel. I don't intentionally sit here trying to promote Esperanto to people. Maybe sometimes I do, but like that is not the goal of this channel. I just like talking about my experiences with this language because, well, they make up a big part of my life and who I am, and therefore, obviously, if this is me, you're gonna hear about the shit that makes me me type of thing. But every now and then I'll mention Esperanto in some random video. In fact, here's a great example. You see this video right here? This hyperpolyglot is a fraud. Over 500,000 views, okay? Esperanto was relevant to the topic of this video because the person I was exposing basically did some shitty Esperanto and I uncovered that and I pointed it out. But I also mentioned, because I first heard about this from a friend who was a native Esperanto speaker. Now, the comment section for that video was littered with people saying, Esperanto? Native speaker? Like, there was people who'd never heard of Esperanto, and then there was people who'd heard about Esperanto but never heard about native speakers before, and they were curious. This was literally the first time that they had heard about Esperanto or native speakers of Esperanto, and this just caused so many conversations in the comments section, and I can guarantee you at least one person here probably went out and learnt more about Esperanto. So if you want to attract people to the language, make cool shit, either in the language or in other languages, and just mention the language in some way that is relevant. But I will say, don't do it in that shitty top-down approach. The type of approach I'm talking about is like, how Hollywood, they want to promote certain ideas and messages, and they just fucking jerry-rig that shit into it, even if it's not relevant. Don't do it like that. everyone sees that for what you're doing, and people fucking hate it, okay? If you're trying to shove some type of message into a movie or a game or something, and it's not relevant to the content, then people see that, and it actually turns them against that. So only mention it when it's goddamn relevant, or it somehow helps whatever you're doing, okay? Like, it's actually relevant to the topic, or it makes the topic cooler in some way. So here it was relevant, I mentioned it, completely in context, did not go on about it like I am right now, and it became a topic of discussion. Now, if we just jump through this, in fact, probably half these comments are negative, but a lot of them are actually curious. Let's have a look. For example, are there native Esperanto speakers? This person did not know. Till there's native Esperanto speakers, there's lots of people. Not sure I trust someone who thinks there are native Esperanto speakers. There's always going to be negative comments. Native Esperanto speakers, how does that work? If you are raised in a family that speaks Esperanto. See, didn't even have to comment. I didn't even comment on most of these comments because, well, if they're truly interested, they will go out and find out this information themselves. I like this one. La unua etapo estas afiŝi tiun ĉi mesaĝon en Esperanto. Basically, what this means is the first step is to post this message in Esperanto. If you truly want to use and promote the language, then you should be typing this message in Esperanto, okay? If you're not able to type it in Esperanto, then what are you doing trying to promote the language? This would be like a vegan going out there promoting veganism, and then on the side they have a couple of chicken nuggets. It's kind of stupid. Oh god, I hate this one. Governments, businesses, politicians, and school boards need to see the advantages to using Esperanto. Again, this is a top-down approach. Even if they did see the advantages, I would not push this approach. Think about it like this. Imagine, let's just say Donald Trump comes out today and he's like, okay, everyone, I can't do a Donald Trump accent. I know you guys want me to. I'm an Australian. I can't, okay? Imagine he comes out today and he goes, okay, all schools now are going to be teaching Esperanto as the first foreign language, blah, 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 gives whatever reasons. I can guarantee you half the country instantly sorry, poor little microphone. Half the country instantly hates Esperanto, okay? It's just hated due to association. Now, let's say it's not Donald Trump and it's just some normal politician who's got, no hatred from either side. You will still have your conspiracy theorists who'd be like, oh, this is a bad thing. And then they'll create a bunch of fucking bullshit about how the government's trying to convert their children into some fanatical cult or some shit like that. We do not want a top-down approach. If you want people to learn it, they need to willingly themselves, for whatever reason, go out and learn it. Do not try force it upon them. Many Esperanto YouTube channels seem to be about learning Esperanto or languages in general. I don't know if that's a shot at me because I talk about languages in general, but I don't talk about learning Esperanto so much. I do have a separate channel where I teach it, but I don't talk about teaching it anymore. Having YouTube channels that use Esperanto but are about entertainment can be helpful. I did that for years. 600 plus videos in Esperanto, but that is a good comment. We need good content in Esperanto for people to actually consume. Doing a cover of popular songs but in Esperanto can help to bring more attention to the language. This is so true. There's a famous, what is it? Let's go have a look for it. Check this video out. It has as many views as mine and it's in Esperanto, okay?
Halo, estas mi demandis min supposti longa ne renconto ni.
Boom, there you go, okay? It's a cover of a famous English song, got lots of views. I am seriously mind blown right now. I came here expecting this to be poorly made, sounding really average and emotionless, but it's actually really good. I have no words for this, so this is amazing. I spent all day learning this language. It's kind of crazy how much I understand already. So you see, people randomly stumbled into this song, found it was cool, and then started learning the language. There is one approach I'd like to see tried: promote it as a language taught to school children. As I just said, absolutely shit, terrible idea. Do not go for a top-down approach. If you want proof that this is not a good idea, have you ever been in a big corporate company? Most people have, where they force certain training upon you. We're talking diversity training and stuff. And even if you support that type of thinking, more diversity training and stuff, no one enjoys it. People do it because they have to, but no one enjoys this kind of forced training because it's like mocking you as an individual. I can look at other people and know not to mistreat them, okay? just due to their skin color or their gender or whatever. I don't need you to tell me not to be an arsehole. If I'm an arsehole, no training is going to help me not being an arsehole. I shouldn't be in the company in the first place. So this type of top-down forced approach does not work. And we've seen this not work through the crashing and burning of Hollywood and the games industry recently, where they've tried to force messages into games and people have literally revolted. It does not work. Do not go for a top-down approach. Now, if you can find a way to naturally slot it in and it's relevant to the content, it's relevant to the story, it somehow enhances the overall thing, go ahead. 100%. Do it that way. That is how we should, like, if you want to promote the language, that is how we should promote it. Now, I honestly don't care, but that is how you should do it. How did English go viral and become the language that most non-English speakers choose to learn? Now do that with Esperanto. What about contacting a very famous YouTuber like Mr. Beast? Why would Mr. Beast care, realistically? Okay, so basically, the takeaway for this is for the Esperanto speakers who, for whatever reason, want to attract more people to our language. Just make some cool shit in the language, or make some cool shit in another language that in some way incorporates Esperanto in some relevant and, like, meaningful way. Don't go put up fucking posters. Don't go run around the street in your boxes with an Esperanto flag on. Don't do any of that shit, because that's actually creating a negative image. We don't need that for our community, okay? Pretty much it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I'll see you all in the next video. And if you're not there, well, you better be grinding your language and creating some cool shit.